Hello, folks, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast, where we are diving deep into the music of 1995. This is our first expansion of the 52 universe from our sister podcast, 52/1995 Movies. I am your host, Alyssa, and I am joined as always by my co host, Cody. Cody, say hello to the beautiful people.
Hello, beautiful people.
Thank you. If y'all are turning in for the first time, welcome. We love to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Chat with us in the chat, have conversation. We'd love to hear from you. But if this is your first time here, let me give you a little bit of a rundown. Each week, 52 weeks specifically, because there's 52 weeks in a year, we're going to explore a different album from the year 1995. We're going to dive deep into the important releases, really discuss them in detail. And I'm going to chat with my guest here about their thoughts and experiences with the music. Each month, we've got a different theme or genre to go along with the weeks. This month's theme is soundtracks. So there's a little bit of overlap. We're going to listen to some musicals, some movies. And today's actually comes from a movie. Today's soundtrack is from the movie Waiting to Exhale, which if you are tuned into our 52 universe and you listen to our movie podcast, that is one of our extra credit movies this month for our Who Run the World theme. So but enough about that, because we'll talk about that in just about 2 weeks. Let me introduce Cody. Cody, let me bring him in. And I want to ask you, Cody, what is your experience with this particular album or movie? Since I feel like you've seen this movie.
I actually I'm sure I've seen this movie,
Mhm.
but I don't remember anything about this movie. I think I've seen clips over the years. There's a quote out there that I'm pretty sure is from this movie that is like memed on the internet. So
He's a good man,
yeah,
Savannah.
that one. I'm pretty sure that's in this movie. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that. But honestly, I don't remember much about that other than Whitney Houston was in another in this movie and acting. Because I think that was kind of a big deal, and she was trying that. She had The Bodyguard, she had Waiting to Exhale, The Preacher's Wife, I think is the other one that she was in. So she's putting her hand in some acting gigs, and then um, putting in and then this soundtrack, which
Mhm.
I'm pretty I did not do any other than listen
Okay.
to the album. I didn't do any research, so but I'm pretty sure this is like a pretty big deal in 95, at least 96, whenever, I don't know when they calculate these things or when Waiting to Exhale actually came out, but
Mhm.
I anticipate that this is a pretty big deal for and a pretty interesting soundtrack. I mean, as
Yeah.
well. All women on the
Yes.
soundtrack.
All Black women
Mhm.
on the soundtrack very specifically. That is very intentional with this album because the movie focuses on Black women. It's for Black women by Black women. Babyface, the singer, songwriter, and now composer, Babyface is the producer of this entire album. So he basically wrote everything that's like an original track, he has written. So My Funny Valentine obviously is not his
Yeah.
song, but like that's his arrangement of it with Shaka Khan. So um, it is it was very critically acclaimed because I was actually kind of surprised. I like you again, we talk about this every time I'm on our 52 movie podcast. There's a lot of movies out there that I have not seen. I just have a very lack of experience in movies. This is just one of the many that I have not seen in my lifetime. So this isn't a movie that I knew about or a soundtrack that I knew about, but reading it and doing some research, very highly critically acclaimed, especially for a soundtrack. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like the soundtrack might have got more traction than the movie. Like, the movie itself, like, of course, it's memed now with He's a Good Man, Savannah. Which I again have said numerous amount of times. I have zero context for it. I might be saying something insanely inappropriate, but it's hilarious. But yeah, it's something that again charted. It did really well. Now, if we're talking about Grammys, this was eligible for the 97 Grammys, which I'll talk about here. I know the Grammys are, I know
Well,
it
I
doesn't make
guess the
any
movie didn't
sense.
come out until December of 95 too, so
Yeah.
this is a little bit later, yeah.
Yes, the Grammys with their time frame is really weird. It's basically like October of 2 years prior, of a year and a half prior. If you wanted to get nominated for a 2025 Grammy, you may have something that comes out in 2023. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any kind of
No,
sense.
it
I hate
never
it.
does. I hate the
Uh,
Grammy thing so
I
much.
know, but it was nominated for the 97 Grammys. We'll get into that here
Yeah.
momentarily, but I'm actually, after now listening to this album, I'm very excited to watch the movie because there's a couple things, and I'll pull them out as we talk about it. But you mentioned Whitney Houston, and I
Mhm.
want to kind of, again, I need to prep you on these questions before I ask you them.
No, I like it.
um, do you my favorite movie of all time is Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella, where Whitney Houston is the fairy godmother and also an executive producer on this movie. And in my life, I've always just thought of Whitney Houston as a singer. Like Whitney Houston singer is like her title, uh her job, right? But she has really, as like you said, dipped her toes in the acting space. And I just want to kind of ask you, what are your thoughts on, like, of the movies you have seen of Whitney
Mhm.
Houston? Like, how do you feel about her as an actress? I know you and I have talked about Madonna and how singing is where Madonna's career should be,
Yeah.
not necessarily in the acting space. Lady Gaga. We're both Lady Gaga fans as both singer and actress. I feel like it's really hard to do both. So I was just kind of curious on your thoughts on Whitney Houston as both singer and actress.
Well, I don't know what she did much after her, like, mid-90s run.
Hmm.
I know she probably had some things going on in the 90s that might have kept her from things, but, like, I it's The Bodyguard in 92, Waiting to Exhale, 95, Preacher's Wife the next year, and then Cinderella the next year, and
Yeah.
then I think that's kind of all she did, and I don't think she's, like, I don't remember anybody talking about her in any kind of, like, negative way with her
Yeah.
acting. I don't know if anybody was, like, going out of their way to be like, "Oh gosh, she's so amazing in this," but, um, yeah, I think she was sufficient. I maybe, like, comparable to, like, Beyonce's, acting career,
Yeah.
which she's in a couple good movies and she's fine in.
I kind of wonder if Whitney Houston, if we didn't lose Whitney Houston when we lost her, if we would see her more in acting roles today.
Mhm.
Just singing only, your voice gives out after some time. I mean, she was such a powerhouse, but maybe she, if she had lived a little bit longer, she maybe would have leaned into that. I don't know. It seems to be something that a lot of singers do in the second half of their career. It feels like to me, is test out acting. um Maybe not, I don't know.
No,
I
no,
thought it was
I
interesting.
was just reading something, and, she passed away when she was 48, so
Okay.
it might have been something that she ended up doing, especially if she could keep her health on track, because she
Hmm.
had complications with that on top of other substance abuse issues, and
Yeah, kind of a
just
perfect storm
yeah.
for all of it. But are you ready to get into this album?
Yeah, let's talk about
All
it.
right, let's talk about some. I'll give you some fun facts, a high level overview. I'm gonna not really get into the movie, just very high level, like a 2 sentence synopsis.
Mhm.
So the title of our track and also subsequently the title of the movie is Waiting to Exhale. The entire album is an hour and 13 minutes long. On the longer side for the albums that we have listened to, not as long as last week's album. That was a full blown musical
Mhm.
review. But again, for it to be this, in my opinion, is really like a supplement to the movie. Like, yes, the music is in the movie, but like it's almost like it's taken on its own life in a separate place. But so a little bit of info about the movie itself. The original music score was composed by Babyface. Kenneth Edmonds is his actual name, but everyone knows him as Babyface. And the movie is four friends, Savannah, Robin, Bernadine, and Gloria, get together frequently to support one another and listen to each other vent about life and love. They want to be in a romantic relationships, but they have difficulties finding a good man. So a good man is hard to find is
Mhm.
kind of the theme of this movie, and all four of the women have different plot lines. It's almost like Sex in the City. And I kind of wonder if Sex in the City pulled from this a little bit because I'm pretty sure this came out first, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know about if, Sex and the City is based on a book, I believe, but I do know this is
Uh,
based on a book as well from
yes.
92?
Yep. Oh, by the same name. So that's the inspiration, I will say, when I talk about inspiration. Terry McMillan is the author of the Waiting to Exhale book. But did it, that's all I got about the movie. Did it chart? Absolutely. The album remained at number 1 on the US Billboard 200 album chart for 5 weeks, which
Dang.
for a soundtrack I find very impressive. Also remained at the top R&B albums chart for 10 weeks, went 7 times platinum in September of 96. So less than a year of being out, about 9 months being out, and it went 7 times platinum by that time, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It spawned 2 number 1 hits on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart. Exhale, Shoop Shoop, and Let It Flow are the 2 biggies from this album. The album received a total of 11 Grammy nominations in 1997, and that does include Album of the Year and Song of the Year for Exhale, Shoop Shoop. It did win the Grammy for Best R&B Song. So that's the one that it won, and that Grammy goes to Babyface because he wrote it. So it doesn't go to Whitney. But Best R&B Song, Exhale, Shoop Shoop in 97. In terms of its legacy, the soundtrack has sold over 12 million copies worldwide. And in 2024, the album was listed at number 27 on Rolling Stone's list of the greatest soundtracks of all time.
What number?
27.
27. Okay.
And I was like, what could be? I was like, just because of the critical acclaim, I'm like, what came before this? And then I was thinking about all the Disney movies that I feel like maybe might have beat it out. Like, I mean, Lion King and Tarzan being like top 2, and in my opinion, soundtracks of any
Mhm.
movie. Even thinking of movies that have incredible scores, that have won for an Oscar for the score, not just a Grammy. So I don't know. I don't know what number 1 through 26 is, but that was a 2024 article. This is, sometimes when we do this research, the last article came out in 2012, and that's not super helpful for us today. So I was like, oh, that's pretty relevant. So I really liked that.
Do you want to know what was number 1?
I do actually.
It's pretty obvious once I say it.
Yeah.
Purple
Is it Jaws?
Rain.
Oh, duh. I was gonna
Yeah.
say Jaws.
No, Purple Rain. That makes
Purple
sense.
Rain. That's more soundtrack than
Yeah.
score. I like that. Okay, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with this. And I'll have my critiques of this album as well, as we get into the songs. But do
Perfect.
you have anything to add before we dive in?
No, I feel like this sound like one, I think the 90s were a lot about soundtracks.
Hmm.
I remember listening to several soundtracks when I was younger, whether it was like the Faculty soundtrack or Godzilla soundtrack because it had the Green Day song on it that I really love with like Godzilla roars behind it. But
Hmm.
like the 90s definitely seemed to be a theme of the soundtrack. And then like I paired this, I don't know what you paired this with, but I paired it with a couple other soundtracks
Oh,
from
okay.
the 90s that are just like copy and paste of
Okay.
this very same
No,
thing. So
I'm glad because again, my movie knowledge is lacking, so therefore my soundtrack knowledge is lacking,
mhm.
for the 90s specifically. I do think, as in the last like maybe like 7 or 8 years or so, I've gotten into records. And I remember like going into a record shop for the first time and being surprised there was a soundtrack section. Like that there, I mean, it's pretty small section. And of course there's a lot of musicals in there, like stage performances, but I was pretty surprised at the amount of movie soundtracks that are pressed on vinyl. And it's quite a few. So that makes more sense. Again, thinking about the 90s, probably a lot more cassettes than
Mhm.
anything else. But
Chat is right though. Like they would have 10 songs on there that aren't even in the movie. Like
yeah.
or some songs that would be like playing in the background of 3 houses away
Hmm.
in the movie. But yeah, like these were put out more
As a
intentionally.
supplement.
Yes, yeah,
That's
absolutely as a
I
supplement.
am very interested to see because of all these songs, there's no way they're all in the movie.
Yeah, I will be curious too. We should like keep a list handy whenever we watch it and check them off as they come through.
Hmm.
Because I'm pretty like I think there are a couple like if I remember scenes from this movie, I know that some music is a big part of this. So
Yes, but there's one song in here, and we'll probably talk about it. I'm like, I just read the plot line of the movie. I'm
Hmm.
like, was this song obviously, Babyface wrote a lot of this music for the movie, for the soundtrack, and I'm like, this one's a little too specific. Like, and I
Yeah.
think it's like directly to one of the women's plot lines
Yeah.
in the movie. So I'm kind of like, oh, I want to see if this comes back around, because it's a little too specific for it
Yeah.
to not be in the movie. Like, it would be really
It's almost
surprised
like
if it
this is
was
a
one.
musical. Like it's I mean a
Yes,
musical without the actors actually singing anything. So
exactly. And I will maybe kind of get into that a little bit when I get into my pairings as well.
perfect.
Awesome. Well, what songs stuck out to you? Which ones do you want to chit chat about?
So I did four songs.
Okay.
Mostly I picked these again. I try and stay away from the like I try to stay away from Exhale, the Whitney Houston one that's kind of
Hmm.
like the title track. I also stayed away from My Funny Valentine. Sorry, Shaka Khan. It's a really good. It's a good version, but
It's a great version.
um,
I'm also a huge fan of the song My Funny
oh yeah, it's
Valentine, so
really.
I was
Although it's
very
got
happy
weird
when I saw it.
lyrics.
Oh, it's just about how your lover's ugly.
Yeah, your looks are laughable, unphotographable.
And it's
It's
just
perfect.
like,
I love you, my ugly, funny Valentine.
yeah, I love your personality.
Yes, exactly. So I stayed away from those. The four that I picked, and I'm sure one of them is on your list, or we might have several crossover. Sitting Up in My Room by
Hmm.
Brandy. TLC, This Is How It Works.
Hmm.
Not Gonna Cry by Mary
Hmm.
J. Blige. And then Whitney Houston and CeCe Winans on the Count on Me song.
Yes. I have all of those. I did touch on Exhale Shoop Shoop, one because I like saying shoop shoop.
Shoot, shoot.
Um, and I also had How Could You Call Her Baby was one that stuck out to me. But
Okay.
I did want to talk about Exhale just for a moment
Yeah.
because, again, talking about Whitney Houston specifically, one, the song perfectly sums up, I think, the movie about friendship, and no matter what happens in your life, like, you're going to have that moment when you get together with your friends and you'll feel like you have the space to breathe. And it's like let it out. Love might come and go, right? And it made me kind of sad to know what happened to Whitney, and about, like, the whole song's kind of like, listen, lovers can treat you poorly, and life sucks, but you'll always have that, like, support system around you. And I'm just like, ugh. So it kind of like, it's like a sweet irony in a way, like what this movie's about, what that song is about, and then what we know of Whitney Houston, later in her life. And it's just made me sad a little bit. I thought it was a great song. I think it, like, the chorus is just the shoops, and you go like this a little bit. Um, but and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, but they kind of make me a little like, aw, about, like, what became of Whitney Houston.
Yeah. I remember this song being a big hit in the 90s.
I've never heard, other than My Funny Valentine, any of these songs.
And yeah, I remember this being a hit, but I was also of an age where I was like, this is I like R&B music is not my kind of music. And
Hmm.
when you're 8 years old, you want Weird Al, or I don't know what I was getting into at that age, but Weird Al's probably up there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
12 years,
so
I will say, not 90s Alyssa, but 2000s Alyssa. I mean, even today Alyssa. 2000s Alyssa loved R&B.
yeah.
Love. And this, I would have ate this up if I had heard in 2005 specifically.
Mhm.
I would have been like, give me everything.
Yeah, I honestly, out of the 3 Whitney Houston songs on this album, Count on Me is my favorite,
I do
of
love
hers,
Count on Me.
'cause I think she sounds great with CeCe Winans. I think it's a really, like, I don't know, it's like a very moving song that kinda
Yeah.
it reminds me of, like, "My love is your love."
Hmm.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. So I like that one the best. Exhale's definitely like on the upper side, and then I really did not like Why Does It Hurt So Bad. Not like my least favorite on the album, but
Hmm.
yeah, Why Does It Hurt So Bad? I was just like, it's all right.
It
It's
was
okay.
forgettable. I think there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot to say about it. I did like, kind of the idea, with Why Does It Hurt So Bad? Like, I'm thriving. I've moved on. I'm doing so much better. I'm not stressed out. There's no more drama in my life. Why do I still miss you? and it's just like, ooh, Whitney. And like, I mean, these that's something I love so much about R&B is it's just yearning. It is poetry, it is sadness and with a hell or like a hell of an awesome beat behind it. And it's just it's so good. And I think I mean the whole album is great. I want to give it up to Babyface for what he did with it. Um, but I fully agree with you. Count on Me is, I think, maybe one of the best songs on the album. It's certainly Whitney's best on this album.
Mhm.
I literally in my notes wrote, just give them all to Whitney. Whitney could sing all of these and I'd be fine with it.
But I'll disagree on one of
Okay.
mine, that because I'm like, there's something unique about the song being sung the way it is that I think only this person can do it.
Okay. Which one's that?
It's Brandy Sitting Up in My Room.
I love Brandy.
Like,
Again, I'm very biased
yes,
because
I know you're biased.
Brandy and Whitney Houston are in my favorite movie together, and I love how they sound together, and I love how they sing. I do love Brandy.
It's almost like, so if we're talking about like Cinderella Brandy, and I think when we watched it not too long ago, you said something, or like she was almost like too quiet, Brandy was,
Hmm.
in the movie, and you don't expect that in like a musical. But then like I listened to Sitting Up in My Room, which is a song that I knew from the 90s, and kind of forgotten about, actually. Like I
Hmm.
was like, oh yeah, Brandy, this is the kind of stuff that you were like famous for. This is why.
Hmm.
And Moesha, obviously. But
Hmm.
um like I don't know, there's just it's like her quiet voice, it's like a
Hmm.
timid voice,
It's a
fits on a,
softness.
yes, there's a softness to it that I'm like, I don't know. Like Whitney Houston could obviously sing anything. She's like Kelly Clarkson. They can sing whatever you put in front of them, and they're gonna
Hmm.
crush it in their own special way. But like,
Hmm.
yeah, there's like a timidness to a Brandy song, to where I think Sitting Up in My Room is
Hmm.
sung in the way it should be sung.
I kind of wonder how do we know how, I mean, I could probably just look it up, how old Brandy is, because this song gives me like very youthful
Yes, that's what I'm
energy.
saying.
This could, because there's nothing like, there are some inappropriate songs on this album, which it's Babyface. I'm not, shit's gonna get sexy, but this is a very, this is a
Shit's gonna get
very,
sexy. That's the next line quote.
that's the motto I live by, right? Shit's gonna get sexy. No.
So,
But this is a very, it's almost youthful, like it could be a teenager, it could be an adult being like, because there's no swearing, there's nothing sexy, and it's just like I'm a mess because I really like you and I keep thinking about you and I'm just gonna sit here and wait until you give me a call. And because that's what you had to do. You had to wait by the phone. You didn't, not everyone had, a cell phone back in the day. They existed, they were around, but they weighed a full pound and it came with their own pouch that they came with. They're like 3,000, 4,000 bucks. But anyway, shit's gonna get sexy. But I loved Sitting in My Room. Also, in terms of like the order of the album, we finally got something upbeat. That's
oh,
like
that's
the
true.
that's like the fourth song, maybe fifth in line, and I was like, thank God. Like again, R&B is sad as like a general statement because it's all about, not sad, but like it's a lot of yearning. It's a lot of I wish and I want and I miss you, and I love
Ballads.
that. But then I like four in a row, three in a row. I'm like, can we get a break? Like,
Yeah,
and
and I
Brandy
think
gives that break.
I think it hurt how much I enjoyed like Tony Braxton and Aretha Franklin, honestly, on there.
Yeah.
Like Tony Braxton's song, when you were reading off the like that Exhale and then Let It Flow were the top two songs on this album, I was like, I mean, I love Tony Braxton. She's great. Unbreak My Heart. This is like her time, to her and Whitney are at the top of the food chain at this point. And like
And
I
I'm
was
sure
just
that
not,
influenced things.
I was just not into Let It Flow. It's again not my least favorite on the album, but
Hmm. It's not, I didn't have many notes for it. I just wrote, I love Tony's deep voice. I love the notes that she hits, and she was made for R&B.
she's almost the
And
yin to like Whitney's yang in the art.
yes,
Like, yeah, because they
yeah,
are so like different.
Whitney hits this and
Yeah,
Tony hits that, like
yeah.
that, and yeah, they're on opposite ends of the scale, and they both are fantastic and unique in their own way. But yeah, there wasn't anything like about it. Same with Aretha's song. I was like, this is good. This is fine. I get it. but
Mhm.
after like back to back to back, again, I think order of an album is so important. Um, so when you do need a break in the same way that you need a comic relief in a
Mhm.
serious movie to break that tension. We need not we need music relief to kind of break the tension of R&B.
Yeah.
So I
And
did love sitting up in my room.
I think this stretch 5, 6, and 7 are just like all about it. Like I'm so all about because it's like this poppy sitting up in my room, like you said, that yearning kind of thing, very
Mhm.
youthful. And then this is how it works. TLC comes on, and it's TLC at their finest.
I love it. I was like I listen to these albums when I'm at work, and this was one of those moments where I was just like, please don't let anybody hear what's coming out of my headphones.
Nobody would know. Nobody would know.
No, but it is. I just wrote sexy with like 5 Ys.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, let's go TLC. Give us some instructions.
Yeah. I love their I just love TLC's vibe. I love how they
Yeah.
kind of had it nailed. And I think Crazy Sexy Cool comes out this year. Maybe it either came out in '94 or it comes out this year or 90. It's
It
in
wasn't
this.
95. We're not talking about it this year because if it came out this year, best believe it would be on our podcast. So it
But
did not
like,
come out this year.
they have that style, like that really low singing, and like
Mhm.
uh obviously they're a trio and like they're all coordinated, and then they have the rap come in at the end. It was very like Waterfalls-esque or
Yes.
Creep-esque.
I think it's a perfect I think it is a perfect balance of a song. Again, this is a something that we saw a lot in the 90s and the 2000s in R&B music specifically, where you have verse, chorus, the bridge is a rap, and then the
Mhm.
final chorus is a mixture of the singer and the rapper. That
Yeah.
is a very tried and true formula. Uh Ja Rule and Ashanti, like that is like if you're thinking about that flow
Yeah.
of a song, that is Ja Rule and Ashanti have it,
I
and
feel
they
like
did
that's
it.
just the 2000s, like the feature
The
in all the pop
feature,
songs, like B.O.B. and in the Paramore or whatever it is. I'm sure that's the same structure.
yeah. Well, yeah, that
Wait,
one's
that's the
the
opposite. That's a flip.
the rap is the
The
verse,
song,
and the
yeah.
song and the singing is the chorus, so that's a little different. But it's the feature just shows up for a verse. Like I mean, what's his
Katy
name?
Perry.
Yes, yes.
Got
What
one.
is
I got
what? Who
one.
is who am I thinking? Who just did Kendrick Lamar? Kendrick Lamar has done that on a lot of pop songs. He's done it with Maroon 5. He's done it with Taylor Swift. He's done it with
Gotta get her in.
I gotta get her in. SZA. Him and SZA have of their songs together. SZA's more so the feature on Kendrick's song, but um, yeah, this is just a tried and true formula that works really well, and it's really good. Like you said, peak TLC. We get the sexy vibe. We get some like a little like risque lyrics here. And again, we needed something upbeat. Like this is a very heavy album, and I'm not gonna lie. Getting towards the end, I was like falling asleep. I was like, we need a break. We need I need something. I've
Yeah.
had too much salt. I need something sweet.
And it does start with, I don't know if you had Not Gonna Cry on your list.
I did.
But it like starts with Not Gonna Cry, and Not Gonna Cry is heavy, as in like,
Content.
yeah, like
Yeah.
this is the
Because,
story.
yes. And we talk a lot about storytelling in country music, but 90s R&B, even and again, I hate R. Kelly. Like horrible example of a human. We're not doing his album this year because I fucking hate him. But Trapped in a Closet. Again, horrible example, but that is some story. That is a quintessential 45-minute long R&B storytelling situation. And Not Gonna Cry is similar in the sense that I know how long you've been together. I know your life. I know everything about this man. I know everything about your feelings towards him. I know your financial situation. Like I like the storytelling in R&B and 90s R&B is just as good as country music, if not better in some cases. And I think like it gets a little bit slept on. So
Mhm.
I loved Not Gonna Cry. Mary J. Blige,
She's pretty great.
she can do no wrong.
No,
But
she's pretty great. But yeah, this song is very good and gives you a lot of information.
Mhm. Well, so this is the song that I was like, is this specific to Angela Bassett's plot? So Angela Bassett and Whitney Houston are like the two leads in this movie, and then there's four women total. But like when you read, like again, I was reading the synopsis, I was like, I think this is Angela Bassett's plot.
Yeah.
Um, that she's with her husband for a long time, and she kind of gave up her dreams of running a catering company to be essentially a mom, to have her children, to have a couple kids, and to also support her husband as he's going through like building his business instead. So she kind of just puts her dreams on the back burner. And at the end of all of it, he's like, I'm leaving you for the person who does my taxes.
Mm.
And this is like immediately in the movie. That's not a spoiler. So
Yeah.
um and that, so it's like she has to go through that mourning and grieving process of not just losing her husband, but and losing her husband to a particular person, losing the dreams that she had, the desires, the things that she put on hold for it says in this song 11 years. I don't know if it's 11 years in the movie, but I'm pretty sure this is directly related to this plot.
I just looked at the Wikipedia for Not Gonna Cry, and it says they are inspired by
Okay,
Bernadine. So you are
got it.
absolutely correct. You nailed it.
Again, just based on the Wikipedia.
And this is the one that was like, this feels like a musical. Like,
Yeah, because it is so specific. I'm like, this is about a person,
yeah.
right? There are certain songs that you're like, that's about a person. Someone has been personally offended. Like I think about that with the song "Good Luck Babe" by Chapel Roan. Like
Hmm.
it is about one person, and every time somebody sings that song, it is directed to that Kelly Smith, whoever she is. Uh, it is who we're singing at. There's not like hundreds of Kelly Smiths. It's just one person. That's how I feel about "Not Gonna Cry."
Not Gonna Cry. Yeah. She's so good. Mary J. Blige. And I don't know if credit, I mean, obviously some credit goes to the singer, but like the songwriter, the producer, Babyface is the one that's doing a lot of this stuff. But
And I
but
think he did pick, and like again, I said I would give it all to Whitney, but you're absolutely right. There are certain people who just do certain things really well. And I was like, "Not Gonna Cry" is a Mary J. Blige song.
hmm
Like I absolutely put her on that track. I think this is very curated, and I love that.
yeah. So kudos Mary J and kudos Babyface.
We are big fans.
I wonder if they worked on albums together. Like,
I don't know.
um, I mean, I'm
I,
sure it. Like, obviously, I would say that like Jack Antonoff. We have to bring him
yeah.
up all the time. Is the like baby face of this generation. Like
I
everybody's
mean,
working with Jack Antonoff,
a
but
lot
in
of
like the
women are working
'90s,
with Jack.
yeah, but in the '90s, like everybody's working with Babyface.
Yeah. I
Like
wonder.
he
I
is the
mean,
one.
probably he's again, and he also had his own music.
Yeah,
Um,
nobody.
the I
Yeah.
specifically remember, and in what's her name? Mariah Carey's song "We Belong Together." She like is specific. She's like reminiscing about her ex, her lover, and she's like, "I'm trying to keep it together. I'm not trying to fall apart. I'm like trying to distract myself." And then Babyface comes on the radio, and I lose it. And I'm like, "That's the." And then I hear Babyface, and then and but it's he's genre defining. He's like you think of slow, sexy, sad R&B music and loving someone, you think of Babyface, and it's just like that punch is just like, oh no, I can't do this.
I can't remember what Babyface's like big song of the '90s was, or like
I couldn't
his
tell you.
song. But I remember Babyface popped up everywhere. He was literally everywhere. Um, I
It's one of
can't
those
remember
things that he is 65 years old.
Babyface. I bet he still look young. Get it? Because he's
Uh,
Babyface.
um, well, no, I'm seeing songs that he's written. Like even yeah,
Oh,
yeah, these aren't really his, I don't think. Every time I close my eyes, that's him.
yes, that is him.
Whip Appeal also comes up. That's 89.
What is the song? Oh well. Oh well.
Yeah, it looks like we just missed him. He's had like 94, 97, 96. So maybe we'll talk about him next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is every time I close my eyes.
That sounds
And
right.
and then I think he might have written what I often confuse as a Babyface song, which is Nobody Knows. Nobody knows it but me. You know that song?
I feel like I do, but
By Tony Rich Project?
I was gonna say couldn't tell you who sang it.
Yeah, he might have worked on that one too. I don't know. I'm telling you,
Done.
Babyface is everywhere.
He's everywhere. Big fan. A Babyface, if you're watching, you have an open invitation.
What would you do if Babyface was like, "I'll
I
take
would
you up on that," and
I just be like, the floor is yours. Tell us everything. Tell us your life story. I just want you're the expert here. What's your favorite song that you've ever written? Like everybody's got favorites. I would do like a Sean Evans Hot Ones interview.
that would
Just
be
get
great. I'll
really
see what I can
obscure
do. I'll see if I
questions.
can get my people to get with his people.
Good. Um, I had How Could You Call Her Baby on my list.
Mhm.
And that's the only differentiated one from you. But again, it's just another example of storytelling. I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly how she feels. I know what this motherfucker did. Like, like it's just like, you hate that man, but you're sad because she's leaving her man. She doesn't want to leave her man. She's like, how could you call her baby? Also, I love the fact that she like again, it's one of those dated songs where she
Mhm.
calls his home phone and his
Oh,
sister
yeah.
picks up and she's like, and I had to learn that you're leaving me from your sister. And she leaves the phone off the hook, and I can hear you in the background calling someone else baby. And I'm like, this would never happen with a cell phone. Like the mute button exists. Your sister's not answering your cell phone. That's in your pocket. You can screen a
Mhm.
phone call with
Mhm.
caller ID. Like so much of this just wouldn't happen. But it's so like time stamped, and I love songs like that.
Yeah. This is still a part of that, like, part of the album where it was just, like, slowed down a lot and too, like
Hmm.
yeah, it was like, let this
It
movie
really
be
dipped.
over."
Like we were like here, and then it's
Yeah,
like,
yes, yeah.
and then it cut, and then really it's like count on me. And that's we end on a high note. I appreciate that, but yeah, it got sleepy in the
I don't
middle.
know, have you ever heard Shanna, have you ever heard of her
No,
before? Me neither. I didn't
but I
do much
liked her
research.
voice.
I didn't do much research into her, but I was like, "Who is this? I've never heard of this art person before," so it was a
I liked,
surprise.
yeah, I liked her voice. Yeah, really, and I really enjoyed the song. Again, it was that storytelling. It kind of was like the uptick for me, like when we're like, oh, okay, we're not like totally asleep anymore. Um, and because I was like invested in the story, I'm like, what's going to happen? What you going to do? What you going to say? Like, so yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about Count on Me? That's our last song on the album. I know we touched on it already. Um,
I I think it's a great ending. I feel like
mhm,
this probably played either over the credits, maybe Shoop did, or maybe Exhale or whatever. Maybe that
mhm.
played over the credits, but this feels very over the credits for me. Like it might not have a special place in the movie. Again, I could be completely wrong about this,
We
but
don't know.
like,
We're gonna find out.
yeah, we are.
No, I think
But
it's perfect bookends.
and it's very like obviously it's R&B, but like because CC Winans is involved, like it does feel like very um Christian contemporary too, and
Yes.
very inspirational. Like
Yes.
like I'm not knocking it for that because again, the 90s were a very important time for like Christian contemporary music and like
Mhm. Oh, we're gonna
um
talk about it.
we are going to talk about it. And so like it this is an inspirational song.
Hmm.
If not maybe not a religious song, but an inspirational song, and that's that like
Hmm.
I feel like Michael Jackson has songs like this in the 90s
Yes.
and Janet and
We
like
are the world.
yeah, it's very like that lifting chorus that just We Are the World or that song off the Free Willy soundtrack. It kind of gives me those vibes from Michael Jackson.
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, I think these are perfect bookends to the album. To start with
Yeah.
Exhale, to end with Count on Me. Again, both Whitney. I think Count on Me is the stronger one, but they're both excellent to start and stop with. I do kind of wish this album had more friendship songs.
Hmm.
Like again, first song and last song. Okay, the movie is about female friendships and the relationships that they are trying to that they're venting about. But it's bigger than just like the men that they interact with. It's about the four of them helping each
Yeah.
other out and supporting one another. And I think count like sometimes friendship songs are very cheesy. A lot of almost all 99% of friendship songs are very cheesy. This felt less cheesy to me. I was like, I'm in. I'm sold. I like this. I count on me. Like again, it's inspirational in a way. Um, it felt less cheesy to me for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it was the music. Maybe it's the Whitney Houston of it all. Maybe
Hmm.
it's I've just got so tired of the yearning for a man music.
Honestly, I was kind of happy to know that like obviously I knew it was about four friends, but that doesn't always in mean that it's all gonna that there's actually gonna be like actual things about friendship.
Mhm.
Um, and I think
Yeah.
that this being there, like I like these songs being at least I was surprised by the friendship songs. Long
Mhm.
story short, to say that.
Yeah. I could have done with more, honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
But and it's not the main it's not the juicy part of the plot. It's the sex and the betrayal and the breakups and the makeups. That's the meat and the
yeah,
potatoes. The friendship is what holds it all together. It sounds like again, I've never seen this movie. This is solely from reading the plot.
yeah,
But it is a very important aspect, and I think the movie is revered. Well, one, it's a pretty big piece of black cinema from the 90s, but two, again, even the movie poster and the album cover, it's just the four women like sitting and laughing with one another and
hmm,
about something, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. I kind of wish there was more of the friendship stuff, but
yeah.
I'll take my two. I'll take my two on the album.
I agree. I like that. Yeah.
So anything else? Anything else you want to chat about with this? So with some of these songs.
No, I don't think so. I think though yeah, I don't think there was anything that really turned me I mean there was one song I think that was kind of turned me off from the others, but other than that, I think it's a pretty solid, through. I mean, some of it does tend to blend together at the end like we said.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, solid soundtrack.
Hmm. So what is your favorite song on the soundtrack?
Sitting Up in My Room is my favorite song on the soundtrack.
Mine too.
Yeah, I think I'm still a little bit like juvenile, I guess. And like I like the cutesiness of Sitting
It's
Up in My
cute.
Room. She was 17, by the way.
Okay, so she
Um,
is a kid.
yeah, she's a child. Not a child, a kid. Yeah, a child.
She's a minor. I don't want to hear sexy songs from a 17
No,
year old.
no. So yeah, I like this song. I mean, it's funny because like my second favorite one on the album is the TLC song, which is the complete opposite of Sitting Up in My Room. Like,
Mhm.
can we just go hard in the paint? Yeah, Sitting Up in My Room, definitely love the sweetness, love Brandy. I think I have a bigger appreciation for her as like an R&B artist, not just because like seeing her in that movie I was like, oh yeah, Brandy's really good, but she's kind of quiet, she seems timid. And then like
Mhm.
R&B Brandy's a different kind of Brandy, and
It
Moesha
works.
Brandy's a different kind of Brandy. And we should watch Moesha.
I've seen
I
episodes. I
love
do.
Moesha.
I don't. I said I remember that I've seen it. I know I've seen it as a kid. I couldn't tell you a thing about it. Uh, I also remember that there was a show called Shaina, which was basically like the Moesha replacement for like Nick at Night. When Moesha
Mm-hmm.
went off the air, Shaina came in.
Shaina, that's
Yes,
hilarious, and
Shaina.
seems like a little weird.
Oh yeah, it was very weird. I love that show. Again, kid. But yeah, Sitting Up in My Room was my favorite, and Count on Me was my second favorite. But yeah, I loved the cutesiness of it. I fully agree. What was your least favorite song?
My least favorite song was "And I Gave My Love" by Sonia Marie.
Same.
Nice.
We didn't talk about it because it sucks. It's just it is it is spoken word.
Yeah.
That's not rap. That's not singing. That is just kind of talking over some music, and it is I mean, the TLC song is explicit, but saying explicit things in song form or in a rap form, like it doesn't cross your mind as being like, that's weird. It's like, it's just, no, it's just part of the song and you get into it. This song is so explicit. It is blatant. There's stuff about rivers. And I'm like, nope, not for me. Again, just
Not for
talking.
me.
She's just talking it. And I'm like, no, this, you just drained every bit of sexiness that this could possibly have. Like it either needs to be sung or it needs to be rapped at a much faster pace. This is a spoken word poem over a song that is just so explicit in sexual nature. And I was like, I hate it. This is the other song that I was like, please don't let anybody walk past while I'm listening to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was the spoken word for me. It wasn't like, not that I don't enjoy, a spoken word, but this one just wasn't for me. And
I want spoken word without music.
Yeah.
If I'm super honest, I
Okay.
love, like, poetry is beautiful, and like slam poetry and that spoken word, I like that a lot, but putting it over music to me kind of takes away from it. Or it's got to be very specific music, like in a Goofy movie. Dumb example, but the Beatnik girl is speaking over bongos. It's
Yes.
solely percussion. There's not a beat. It's just like and it's in supplement with what she's saying. She screams while the guy's like banging on the bongos really fast. Like the beat gets loud when she gets loud, but it's really soft and quiet when she's soft and quiet. Like it's supplemental. This was like it wanted to be a rap and it wasn't, and it made me deathly uncomfortable.
Yeah, it just wasn't for me. Didn't love it.
No, same. Do you have a favorite lyric?
Yeah, let me read out my favorite lyrics here for you.
Oh no, I'm
No,
so
just kidding.
afraid.
Kiss the tip, gently blow, be my hoe, and tape the show. We can watch it in slow-mo when the sweet and low drips. Don't forget to let me wet my fingertips, write love letters back and forth across your lips, spread my hips, count to 80, 80 ways, 80 trips.
This is what I mean by speaking it out. I was
Yep.
afraid. I was
Quite possibly
afraid
the best moment on the show. Yeah, you're right.
and just to thank you for sharing that with all of us. Um, it's a great line. It's a good joke. It's a great joke, even. No, it's a great line. It's a lot to hear spoken out now. Well, it's again not in sing song form. You're just like, eh.
I wish I could do voices, so I could be like, kiss the tip, gently blow. It's like
Please
reading
don't
the
sing.
lyrics to WAP.
Yeah, don't Ben Shapiro this, please.
Kiss the tip, gently blow.
Oh, so you sounded like
my
Kermit.
Oh yeah,
Is
that was
that-
what I was doing.
Just your never mind. That's getting too much.
Low drips.
So my favorite lyric, I just wrote. I didn't really have anything that stood out to me. I did look up the lyrics to "Sitting Up in My Room," and the last line of the chorus is, "I'm just a mess with a thang for you,"
Yeah.
and it is THANG. Like the
Hell
lyrics
yeah, it
themselves.
is.
I'm just a mess with a thang for you. And I'm like, that's simple. It's simple. It's cute. It's fun. I love that. I think that's a perfect little lyric.
I love that. That thangin',
The thangs thangin'.
The thang's thangin'.
I want to hear your music pairings.
So I went, of course, these are soundtracks. I went other movies, and specifically other movies in the 90s, other black movies in the 90s. Now, one thing I did enjoy about this movie is a movie about friendship and women and everybody on there. So these don't kind of match up with those. So I did Soul Food, the soundtrack to Soul Food, the soundtrack to The Best Man, which is like 97, I think. And then the soundtrack to How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Just looking up those soundtracks, you'll see a lot of similarities, like Mary J. Blige or Brandy, or a couple of the other like people, like Faith Evans maybe, is on some of these. Monica, who sang with Brandy, but you'll see a ton of similarities with them. Now, unless you know the movies, you probably, I mean, but they seem like they fit because like soul food's all about like family and togetherness, and so the songs are going to apply to that. And Stella got her groove back. I mean, it's all about how she's getting her groove back.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have songs that tell that story too, and the best man similar stuff. So those are my pairings.
I like it. I like that you went the soundtrack route.
Mm-hmm.
I have quite a few. I actually have five. So, Babyface is the obvious pairing to me. And just go listen to Babyface stuff. It's going to sound exactly like this album. I also put Mariah Carey. Again, it was just giving Mariah Carey vibes. We're going to talk about Mariah Carey's album that she put out in '95 in just a couple of months. I think that's sometime in this June, maybe the summer. But again, '90s R&B, more on the pop side of things, powerhouse vocals. So Babyface and Mariah Carey are like the singers that I would maybe pair this with. I also thought about SZA,
Oh
and this is
yeah.
again more of a modern take. I love SZA. Sings R&B, but the thing with SZA that has been like a critique of her, which I don't like the critique, but listening to this album did remind me of what people have said, and they said SZA makes music for girls with low self-esteem. And so makes sense why I love SZA. No, I'm kidding. But and that's really not as like I think that's a bad argument. SZA makes very honest music about yearning. Like again, which is what R&B is. It's about being honest and like being wistful and wanting to be with your lover, even if he is with somebody else and missing him, and maybe even being the other woman. Like SZA has like one of SZA's most popular songs is about that. And that's even a theme in this movie. So I think SZA is as a general statement, is a pairing for this soundtrack.
I like it.
Now I've got two songs specifically that I want to pair with songs on the album. Or
Okay.
so one, when I was listening to the TLC song, again, it's like giving instructions for sexy times. It reminded me of the Ashanti song "Dip It Low," which is also giving instructions for sexy times, and I was like, "This is just Dip It Low, but '90s."
Nice.
And so I was like, "God, I love that song." And then Destiny's Child, which, as a general statement, I would maybe pair with them. More like the 2000s Destiny's Child. They specifically have a song called "Girl." Do you know the song "Girl" by Destiny's Child?
Girl, 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 girl. I probably would if I listened to it.
It wasn't one of their most popular ones. It was a little later in there. It was honestly like around the time that their like greatest hits album came out. So it's like was getting towards the end of the trio's career together. And it's the song about the three of them. Like one of them, Kelly, is having a hard time with her man. Like he's not being faithful to her and she's sticking by him, and then Michelle and Beyonce are like, girl, like we have your back, like he's sneaking behind your back, like we love you, like you need to know this, like we're trying to support you, you deserve better than him. And that's, I feel like, what the movie kind of is about, what the soundtrack's about, is like, yeah, there's like we can't find a good man, and like we have these female friendships that kind of support us along the way. So I think "Girl" would be, if this album was made in the or this movie was made in the 2000s, "Girl" would be on the album.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Yeah.
We'll listen to it later. Would you recommend this album to a friend?
You know, I think this is a really good way if somebody's looking to learn more, like get into R&B, 90s R&B. I mean, I think this covers it a lot, especially for women in R&B. Not only do you get the people of the 90s, you get the staples, you get the Whitney, you get Tony in there, but you get up and comers, more of the pop people and less of the like ballad singers. So like Brandy's on here, and Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans. And then you also get the people before that. So you get Chaka Khan, you get Aretha Franklin singing some songs here. So I don't know. It covers a lot of ground. CeCe Winans, I should have mentioned her as well. It covers a lot of ground, so it gives you a good summary of this time and this era.
I agree. I would recommend it, but I would recommend watching the movie first. I felt a little lost a couple times. Like again, I kind of Was
You're trying to put
hoping.
a story to it. It's just sad.
Again, I'm trying to put a story to it. I wish I had more context for the music itself. Like I love visuals. Like music videos are fantastic. I love music videos. Like a visual to go along with a song is super helpful. Um, so because it is a soundtrack specifically, I'm kind of like, okay, but what's happening here? Is this song in the movie? Is it not in the movie? So
Hmm.
I would absolutely recommend it, especially if someone's looking for, like you said, a sampling, a charcuterie platter of R&B, trying to get into like a taste of R&B
Yeah.
music of the 90s, of hitting all the powerhouses. But for the soundtrack specifically, I would recommend watching the movie first and then listening to the soundtrack. That's kind of how it is with musicals too. I think it's really hard unless you're doing an operetta, which
Hmm.
is Les Mis or Hamilton, where the entire show is sung. If you just go in and listen to an album, a musical soundtrack without knowing what's happening in the plot, you're going to get lost so fast.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt that about this as well.
Okay, I get that. Yeah.
So what's your 5-star rating?
I gave it a 3.
Okay.
Um, like I said, there was a lot of skippable songs on this album for
Mm-hmm.
me. So yeah, that's why. But I got a couple bangers out of it. That TLC song is it.
It is it. I gave it a 3.5. I was kind of snoozing towards the end, but it picked back up. I was just it's kind of reignited. I'm like, God, I love R&B music.
Yeah.
It was just a fun, like kind of almost like a walk down memory lane. It's a genre I haven't listened to in a long time because it's a genre that hasn't really been popular since the 2000s. So, I mean, obviously, again, SZA is an R&B singer that is popular and famous, but not it's just not happening in the droves that it was happening
Right.
in
It's
the
not like
80s,
country and
90s.
90s. Like, yeah, it's not. It's the 90s. It was way different. You're right.
It was very different. And again, I'm very partial to 2000s R&B, like Mario and Omarion are the ones that like come to mind immediately. That's the men in this space, not the women, but I'm like, I loved them, and that's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
So that's maybe why I'm drawn to it more. So I gave it a little extra bump because I was like, God, R&B music so good.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll get into some more R&B later this year.
Oh yes, yes we will. I believe we have an entire month about it. And a whole month on rap and a whole month that's dedicated to your picks. So I'm excited about all those.
It's gonna be great.
Well, thank you, Cody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here again and doing this every week with me. Before we wrap up, do you have any music recommendations? It's all right if you don't. I know we had kind of a busy couple weeks.
I think I do have a recommendation. I
Okay.
just gotta. I'm trying to figure out what I've been listening to on Spotify. Um, did I already? I did Mom Jeans last week. Mom
You
Jeans is
did.
pretty cool. Arm. So I had a couple. Talked to a couple friends recently, and they recommended a band to me. That band is called Arm's Length. So if you're into like emo or pop punk or any of that kind of stuff, post-hardcore stuff or anything, Arm's Length is really good. So check them out. They got a couple
All
albums
right.
out. I think they have a new one coming out, or so check them out.
All right. Fantastic. My only rec is that it is getting close to St. Patrick's Day. So this is when I dive into my obsession with Irish punk and Irish rock music. So Dropkick Murphys, Flogging Molly, that's kind of what's been on repeat for me just because 'tis the season.
Tis the season.
I have a whole playlist called Drunken Lullabies. If anyone's out there and interested, it's a mixture of uh, Irish rock songs, also Irish drinking songs, traditional Irish music. I love Irish music. Um, it's a combo of all of that. So if anyone's is like itching for some Irish music, I got you.
I didn't realize you were so into St. Patty's Day.
I'm not into St. Patty's Day. I'm into Irish music. I've seen Flogging Molly twice. Great concert. I would go again. I'd see them a third time. Dropkick Murphys, I mean, they're famous for doing their St. Patrick's Day shows. They were just in Cincinnati, not that like a
Mhm.
week or two ago, but huge Flogging Molly fan.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, if y'all are interested about getting any more information about this podcast, about what we're doing here, about the music and the movies that we're interested in, you can join our Discord server. We got a lot of fun chats out there, just again talking about music and movies and etc. And you're also always welcome to follow us on Instagram. Again, it's 52 slash. Next week, again, continuing our soundtrack month, we are doing another movie we will be covering just much later in the year, Pocahontas. I am so excited. And I will say this album does include score. So it has of course, the classic songs that everybody knows and loves, but it also includes score. So we will be covering both of those. Again, it's the entire album. It's about an hour-ish long. It's found on any streaming services that you utilize. But that being said, I hope we see you next week to talk about Pocahontas. Thanks for talking about Waiting to Exhale with us today. Hope you have a good rest of your night. See you next